Welcome to the Courage to Be podcast. I am your host, Tanya Vasallo. Have you ever had one of those weeks where your own strength wasn't enough and you just have to borrow someone else's belief, someone else's strength, someone else's courage? I feel like, I go in and out of that throughout this process with this huge move. And in these last couple of months, I've had to tap into, other people's energies, other people's beliefs, whether that's been, for example, my husband. I'm at a moment where I'm scared and I don't know, how to move forward and what to do, and I'm just kind of like losing faith of everything. And I'm starting to tap more into fear instead of faith. I allow my husband to step in and I borrow from his courage, from his energy. And there's also energetic borrowings. And what do I mean by this? I talked a little bit about it on the episode of letting go with faith and not fear. But what I mean about it, there's so much mindset that you have to work around in this process of this huge move and of releasing all the things that we've released. Remember that I've narrowed down everything into a 6x6 closet. You can listen to that episode too. And so when I say borrowing into some other people's energy, the example that I gave in that podcast episode was Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer, many years ago, decided to give away all of his possessions, his home, his car, all of his material things. He gave it away. He moved to Maui and he decided to study the Tao Te Ching for a whole year. And that story always stuck with me because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, would I be able to do something like that? I'm talking like over 10 years ago. And I was so impressed with that story. So this is, again, the impact that we have on people. And I'm sure Wayne Dyer knew the impact that he had by doing that. But we can all do that too. It's like, because if your brain is going into the space of like, oh, well, that's easy, Wayne Dyer could do it, like that's where I was back in the day, like he had all these things and he gave them away, that's easy. And I'm like, no, it's not, like I'm in the process of it. And so when I've had to give away things that I was very attached to, whether it was an article of clothing, a furniture piece, anything that had a lot of value that I was still attached to, that I wasn't ready to release and to let go of, I would tap into Wayne Dyer's energy. I'm like, I can't do this on my own. So whose energy can I tap into? And I just kind of like bring myself back to, oh, Wayne Dyer did it. If he can do it, I can do it too. Let me borrow from his courage, from his energy. And I invite you to do this. And especially in those moments that you're not feeling courageous, that you're feeling like you're not strong enough, borrow into the energy and the courage of those that have gone before you, that you might have known of their stories. Another person that I like tapping into is like, how would Oprah respond to this? And borrowing from her energy and her courage that she would jump into. Or another one that I've been tapping into in this process and this move until we transition our life into Bali has been Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor has been a mentor of mine, and one of his mentors was Napoleon Hill. I've been studying Napoleon Hill, for many years. I'm a certified Napoleon Hill coach. And so Bob Proctor is one of my mentors. And one of the things that he always said is that when you want to step into a new level of being, a new way of being, you have to shift your environment. You can't come back to the environment you've always been in. And so an example that he always gave was upgrading your closet, your wardrobe. And so he'd say that if you're going into your wardrobe and you're getting rid of things, to not sell them. And I was like, why? But you can make so much more money. And I love the thriftiness and who am I going to sell it to and where am I going to take it and trying to figure all that out. But in this whole process, I've learned he would say, because of the law of polarity, because of the law of reciprocity, like the law of polarity states that everything has an equal and opposite in existence. So everything that goes up comes down, cold has hot and cold, you have positive and negative, you have inside and out. So there's always going to be an equal opposite on the other side. And so he'd say, if you're giving something away, you'll have the equal return to you. So If you cap it off at $200, then what's going to come back to you is in the form of money of $200 for that item. But if on the other hand, you just release it, allow the universe to reciprocate with what the universe thinks appropriate. And maybe it'll be coming back to you at tenfold. So this whole conversation is for you to be thinking, what scenario are you in that you need to tap into someone else's belief, into someone else's courage. And it might be from someone that's alive and maybe close to you, or it can be from a mentor or someone that you admire, and tap into their energy, because we are all energetic, like the energetic field of those we admire is always accessible, whether they're alive or dead. So borrow the strength until yours returns. And I will leave you with this question: whose courage are you borrowing right now? Or whose energy are you having to tap into right now? Until our next episode, have a fabulous day, and remember to always choose courage over comfort. If you loved today's episode, it would mean so much if you rate and review The Courage to Be on Apple Podcast. Not only does it help the show to grow, but it also gets you in the running for something amazing. Every month, I draw one lucky winner to receive a complimentary 7-night, 8-day vacation. You'll get to pick from over 3,000 beautiful resorts worldwide. You just cover the taxes and fees like you would with a travel rewards. Airfare is not included. And if you want to double your chances, along with your Apple Podcast review, leave a couple of comments on YouTube. That counts as a second entry. Just send your screenshots to help.thecouragetobe@gmail.com, and you'll find the email in the show notes too. It only takes a moment, and who knows, your next adventure might be closer than you think. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you on our next episode of the Courage to Be podcast.